Welcome back. This is another edition of My Haunting. Now, this one actually kind of caught me by surprise. First off, I want to say Happy New Year from My Haunting, and hope you guys are having a great start to your new year in January. Now, what's great about January is, yes, obviously it's the New Year, stuff like that. It's a good holiday, but Lemax Spookytown and Department 56 usually come out with their new village releases or like sneak peeks for the year. So, without further ado, Lemax Spookytown actually just came out with their new releases, actually, I want to say a couple days ago. So, I'm going to do a video for you guys here on my review of all the new releases that they did. I hope you guys like it. I'll do one for the Michael's exclusives, and then when Department 56, when they do their releases. It's exciting that the Halloween season, it's starting to get towards the 2026 season. It's coming along. Pretty soon before you know it, I'll be planting pumpkins again. It's great to be back. I didn't expect to be back so soon, but I love that I am. So yeah, we're just gonna keep the videos coming on our way to Halloween 2026. So without further ado, here's the video of my review of all the Lemax new pieces for 2026. I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. All right, and then on that note, let's pull up the Lemax Spookytown, their website. So I'll go here, and it's lemaxcollection.com. Here's their Spookytown stuff. Here you can see a small picture of the new stuff that's coming. Definitely very excited for that. We're going to scroll down. Now, in this video, I'm going to cover both the buildings and the accessories. They've already given us sneak peeks on a decent amount of stuff. So I'm going to try to cover it all in this video. So we're going to go to new this year. You scroll down, and the first accessory is going to be Agatha's Garden. Now, this could go great with, they have a witch greenhouse this year. They also had, in years past, it was called Garden of Eden. It was like a man-eating plant, kind of like of Little Shop of Horrors. Or they used to have like a really cool Grizzly's greenhouse from years ago. That is a very cool piece. This would also work well with this. So I might pick this up just because my dad has like a green thumb, so it'd be cool just to kind of do like an homage to that. Now here is the Agatha's greenhouse that I mentioned earlier. Now this piece I absolutely love. I don't really have a spot for it, but just because my dad was a huge, into plants and greenhouse and stuff like that, I could totally see him liking this. It's unique, and if you didn't get the Grimsley's greenhouse that can sometimes run pretty expensive, this could be a small little option. So it's not bad. I like it. I probably won't get it, but still, I love the different colors of the flowers they have in there. They got, it looks like some grasses. Definitely really cool. I could see this in a little shop area. Alrighty, next we will go to, so they got the broken bridge. This I actually love because I'm building a vampire area where they're going past the cemetery, and then there's going to be this vampire castle with a mountain and stuff. So I might put this here in the bridge. So if you scroll, see, look, it's got a broken in the middle. I wonder if those are those alligators in the center there? I think they are. Oh no, they're just rocks. But still, pretty cool. I'd de-age it a little, or I'd age it a little more. I'd paint some darker colors on it. But still, really well done. Alright, let's see what's next here. So we got the Carnival Companions. Now, there's a lot of people that run a Spookytown Carnival. They have a lot of carnival rides. I'm still waiting on that roller coaster. That would be amazing. I personally don't do a carnival, but I have a pumpkin patch that has the tilt and hurl pumpkin ride. So these guys I might add just because that would be cool to have, just some people walking around the carnival, the pumpkin patch, getting some cotton candy and balloon. Next, we have the Cemetery Sentinel. Now, this guy is pretty cool. The light is
I've got a lot of cemetery pieces, so I probably won't get him. But the light is purple. I like that it's a different color rather than just like white. I think, if you're into that, go for it. It's pretty cool piece. I've liked some that Department 56 released with their Sentinels, their type of like Grave Watchers. But hey, I mean, it's a good piece. It would work well with their cemetery like accessory kit that they came out with last year. Now this reminds me of, it's called Creepy Caboose. This reminds me a lot of like the Wolfman, where he goes to see all the gypsies, and there's this like, she's obviously in like a back of a caboose trailer, or back of a railroad car. And so this reminds me of that, but this would be cool if you have like a train station, like I think it was called RIP Railroad or RIP Railroad. All I remember is it was a train station. Very well done. This was earlier Lemax. So this could work well for that. I love the little skeletons and the vines obviously growing on it like it's overgrown. Oop, accidentally went off the site. Let's go back. All right, let's scroll down here. Now we got Creepy Cat. Now, I'm a cat owner myself. I didn't think at first this was a cat. I'll have to see it in person. I like the guy. The kid reminds me of someone from like The Grudge. Very creepy. And obviously you have the little mouse here. I don't know if I'll get it. I might, though, to put it in a cemetery just as like a lost boy or something. That would be kind of cool. I mean, they went all out with their cemetery pieces last year, which I loved. And so, like, if you can add more, I mean, might as well. This, I love. It's creepy delivery. So, like, I've got some friends that work at, like, the UPS store or, like, the postal service. And this would be great to have, like, it's Mr. Dreadmore's castle. You could even have it, like, coming for, like, this package in front of the Frankenstein's laboratory is like, oh, this is a package that was delivered, or this was for, the vampire castle. I absolutely love this thing. It's very well done. Obviously, you got like the creature from the Black Lagoon. You got some tentacles, Now we will start with the Crypt City. Now they've been doing these like facade pieces where they're flat on the back, but they're very like detail oriented. Like if you zoom in, like this is obviously like a cemetery one, but it's almost like a little like it looks like it's 3D, and it catches your eye. Each little piece here. I know people collect these and they have them on like a shelf. Like some people hang them on a wall. I personally don't, but I have seen some really cool ones. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. There was like an apartment complex one. So we're going to play the video. I'm going to do it without the sound. But let's see here. So it doesn't contain a soundtrack, but there's like the lights going on and off. So I think this is really well done. It gives off a very creepy cemetery. Like here, this is like a cemetery on like a mountain. I could see like if you build like a mountain out of foam, you could put this into the side of the mountain. That would be really cool. Actually, that's a good idea. Like I might have to do that. Like it's just very well done. But as you can see here, as it's turning to the right, it's a flat back, so you can hang it. So I mean, I think this will definitely sell. I know a lot of people collect these. All right, let's see what's next here. We got the Decorating the Spooky Tree. Looks like we got a pack of witches here. They're lighting like pumpkin lights. And then they have like little purple lights. So the pumpkin lights, those don't light up, but the purple ones do. I like how it has like the Halloween ornaments and stuff. It's like they're making a Christmas tree. Alrighty. Now we've got Dr. Dreadmore's castle. So where that package was from earlier with the tentacles and the creature from Black Lagoon, this is the official castle. Now this is pretty dang cool. I know the little kid in me, it reminds me of like the 90s when they had like the plastic Fisher-Price castle with the trap door. This thing is just awesome. Like, you've got the pumpkin monster here. Looks like some sort of like alien here or sea monster. Here's your mad scientist here. That is Dr. Dreadmore. You've got these cool lamps that are going. I'm hoping they'll pulsate like zzz, zzz. You got this very cool sea monster guy here in the top right-hand corner. I love how it's got like the bookshelves to show like his laboratory. And then of course you can't forget the body at the top that is most likely going to get struck by lightning. That is very well done. I love how they include the teleportation. So it looks like we're definitely getting a real sciencey theme. I'm not the biggest guy on like the eyes. I think it's really cool that it's going to be like motion activated. Well, not motion activated. It's going to be like they're going to move, and most likely they're going to blink. I think that's a very cool feature. Let's play the video on this and see what it looks like. If it wants to. Come on. Sorry, guys. Bear with me here. Okay, we're going to open this. Come on. There we go. I'm going to take off the sound. Yep, so the eyes do blink. Very well done. I like how these guys, Oh, okay, that is cool. Okay, that's pretty dang cool. So as you see here, Dr. Dreadmore, he's perfected his teleportation. He teleports from one side to the other. Now there's his like library. That's really, really well done. I love that. Here's the monster eyes. And then as you watch here, you're going to see that he teleports from side to side. Here's the pumpkin monster. Obviously, he's guarding the gate. Now, let's see that teleportation. Hopefully, they do it here in this next. Okay, that's cool. He rises up out of the building like that. Okay. Ooh, I might have to get this because it's just the cool features on. I mean, man, I can't wait to see how this sounds. Like, it's going to be probably amazing. Yeah, and then you got like your Igor guy, obviously with the lightning rod, and the guy's coming up out of the roof. Very well done. All right, let's hope they show here. Probably going to show the front side one more time. If not, I'll just scroll back on the video and show it. But that took me a second. I was like, whoa, like he's like teleporting from side to side. Like, I didn't expect that. That's pretty dang cool. I hope that over time he lasts. Let's see if we can scroll back and view that actually pretty quick here. So it's in the beginning. If you scroll, hit play. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get used to screen record. But see how he teleports from the left side to the right side? That is very well done. I love that. That is such a cool piece. This piece is probably going to be pretty expensive. But it looks... they've decorated it very well. All four sides. I mean, you could display this on a mountain easily and heck, hang it up or put it on like a shelf. This is cool. Okay, that is really well done. I love that piece. All right, let's see the next piece because man, it's gonna be hard to beat that. That's wow. Let me scroll down here. Next, we've got Dr. Dreadmore's Creepy Creatures. Now, I don't know if anyone else on my following does, but definitely he's a huge YouTuber. His name's Hauntformer. Very, very well built YouTube channel. Sorry, tongue-tied. The dude loves Halloween. He does fantastic reviews, movie reviews, Lemax. He's also really big into sci-fi and like bugs and anything like aliens. So he's going to love this piece. I'm curious to hear his thoughts on Dr. Dreadmore's. I followed Mac for a long time at My Haunter. Excuse me, not My Haunter. Hauntformer. He's just great guy. I'm excited to see his reaction to that. I'm not personally going to pick up this piece unless I pick up Dr. Dreadmore, but still... it is cool. Like, he's, aliens. still, it's very cool. You got the alien. He's pushing the cart. So you got like a saw in the front. It looks like a bear claw. That reminds me of is it Creepshow? Where it's fluffy and he's coming out the crate. That reminds me a lot of that. Now let's scroll down. Let's see these evil signs. Now I like these a lot because I recently went to Salem last year in October. Absolutely loved it. If you've never been, definitely go. It's insane. It's hard to describe because it's literally. I remember being overwhelmed at the amount of Halloween in October just in that little town. Now these signs remind me of something that would be out in front of the stores. Like you've got tarot card readings, the Halloween shop, evil apothecary, witch spells. Now Lemax Spookytown, I think it was 2 years ago, they came out with like that Sarah's house where she's like making decorations out of her house. I would absolutely put the Halloween shop in. I'd put that in front of like her yard if you're doing like a neighborhood setting, just so that way, hey, the neighbors can come and, buy Halloween decor. I might have to pick that up just for that sign alone. I like that. That is really well done. Now, the Flying Spectre, he's pretty cool. I honestly am not the biggest fan of the green. What it does remind me, though, is it reminds me a lot of Scooby-Doo and like the old classic cartoons with like that neon green. He's pretty cool, but not for me, but I know other people are definitely going to love him. Now we got Frightful Fangs Dentistry. Now I didn't see this one coming. This is pretty cool. I don't think really anybody likes going to the dentist, but this is really well done. Obviously, you've got, vampires and Dracula, and you've got a dentistry, you've got the fangs. So up front here, I love the pumpkins. They've got the different assort. They've got the man-eating plants. You scroll in, and I love how they've got the little signs always. Like, it says, I'm open, and then Lycan root canal, 30% off. So, like, werewolves and stuff, lycanthropy, that's really cool. I love the vampire here sitting in the front office. I love how they do the little scenes. So, I don't do a town per se anymore for, like, businesses and stuff, but I know a lot of people do. This would be one that you definitely should add to your collection because we haven't had a dentistry, so. Next, they have, like, a dentistry set. So, like, this here has the water tower from years past. This I love. It's got the werewolf with, like, a toothache. Obviously, he just got it removed. You've got these creepy pumpkins, like the sign, or the lamppost, the plants, and then the walls right here. These are really well done. I like those. Those could be good, obviously, just in any type of town. So I like this little scene here. Alrighty, let's see. The full moon bar. So they started doing, I think, probably 3 years ago. They started doing like these bar scenes. They did like a pub, the werewolf, the full moon diner. They did another like a pumpkin tilted one. I'm sorry, I can't remember the names, but the full moon bar, I kind of like that. Like if you did like a, part of me wants to do like a very cool like gypsy camp and have like some werewolves, kind of like the original Wolfman movie. And then you can have like a bunch of werewolves at the full moon bar, like off in the woods. I might do that. That is, I kind of like that. I might just have to pick that one up. Alrighty, now this game over. This is this is really cool. Now this here goes with the arcade that came out last year for Lemax Spookytown. Obviously, you've got the evil ghost from, it looks like that's from not Ghostbusters, Pac-Man, and then you've got Tetris, and then you've got the zombie. He's like passed out in front of the screen, and it says game over. Like, a lot of people love that piece. It lit up, brought back like a lot of great memories of the arcade. Very, very well done. You should definitely add that. Now, what do we got here? We got a gargoyle comfort station. So let's... Okay, please clean up after your gargoyle. is this? Take one, please. Gargoyle Comfort Stay. It looks like he's holding a donut. I'm not really sure what. Oh, it looks like this is like a post. So like, because the take one, please. Maybe it's like a like if you have a gargoyle, you'll set him on this post, and then you get him a donut. Maybe that's in that green box, or like he'll take care of your gargoyle. Maybe that's what that is. That's a unique one for me. That is that's pretty unique, but I like how they're kind of branching out. Now we got the gates to the underworld. Now this is, I love the top part of that. You kind of see like almost looks like it's like you'd see something in like Greece or Rome, that type of tiling. You've got this, technically this could be like Hades here, the skeleton at the top, and he's like, this is welcome to the underworld. You've got, this guy here. He's terrified, obviously. And what this actually looks like is it says entrance. The entrance reminds me of, this could be like a amusement park ride, like a haunted house. And the guy is like scared to go in. That's what this reminds me of a lot. Let's see if it has a video. It actually does. Cool. All right, let's see. Let's click this video here. Sorry, guys. Okay, so the lights do pulsate. I love that they've started adding that. Now, there's not really anything moving on the piece, but I do like that the lights are just pulsating. They're like kind of drawing you in. Very, very cool. Yeah, so like if you have an arcade, I would definitely think about adding that piece. Now we've got Ghoul Sister with Cat. Now, I love the cat on this. Once again, cat owner. I love how the cat is kind of like, no, don't hold me. It reminds me a lot of my cat, Ruby, where she does not, excuse me, she does not always like to be held. And so, like, she'll, whine and everything. But we love her anyways. And this reminds me a lot of that. But it's okay. I don't mind it. You could put it out in front of, they had like a high school for Lemax Spookytown years ago. You could put it out in front of the high school, or say if you have like the adoption center that they came out with a few years ago, put that there. Now here we've got Halloween at the Wilsons. Now, I'm a big fan of the trick-or-treat lane type houses, neighborhood. I'm trying to recreate actually the neighborhood I grew up in as best I can, just, with Lemax houses and Department 56. This I like, it says fresh apple cider, courtesy of the Wilsons. Happy Halloween. This looks like your typical, maybe mom and pop family home. Maybe their kids have gone off to college, or they're empty nesters and they still want to decorate for Halloween, and they're being polite and apple cider and stuff. This I don't mind this. It's all right. I like that it looks like it's all ceramic, which I love. I'm not the biggest plastic fan, so I'm glad it's all ceramic. Now, what I love is this. They made it a set. Now, this whole set here, I could easily just put this right into my neighborhood. Okay, you've got the tree, the pumpkin sign, the truck with the pumpkins. You've got the cemetery tombstones. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a must right there. And these signs especially. And then you've got, it looks like the Wilsons. So I was wrong. It looks like these guys have 2 kids and the pumpkins for sale. So this is very well done. Like, you could literally just take the whole set. And what I love is they'll probably sell this as a set, all of it together, because it says the set. So I would definitely add this. If you're looking for like a neighborhood scene or just want like to start it, this is a very good start to that. Now, this is a Haunted Clock, Stand Back. Now, the first thing this reminds me of is Stranger Things, obviously, with like Vecna and the haunted clock, and that's what it reminds me of. I would have liked it to be just a haunted clock, but I don't know where you'd put it. I'm thinking maybe neighborhood scene, but they don't really have any pieces where you can put stuff inside the buildings. So maybe amusement park or like a sideshow like the Oddities. You can mix this in with the Department 56, how they have that Oddities and Freak Show. You could put that haunted clock in. And now we've got, they usually have one of these every year, the Halloween countdown. Now it's a werewolf, and he's obviously scaring somebody. And then it says Halloween countdown. And you've got the bats. Sorry, trying to pull that up. There it goes. And you can change the date each year. I do like that. That is very well done. I love the moon on the top there. And the werewolf looks, the paint job on the werewolf, like that looks like a realistic werewolf right there. That's pretty cool. All right, now we've got Imelda's Herbs. Oops, sorry. Keeps scrolling to the left on me. Imelda's Herbs. So we're going to pull this up, and it looks like dried bags in bunches for spells, stews, and curses. Now, obviously, you've got her herbs right here and the pumpkins. There's Imelda. And then you've got poison, deadly nightshade, stinging nettle. These are pretty cool. You know, I know a lot of people love collecting witch stuff. You know, if that's your vibe, definitely go for it. I think it's pretty cool that they have kind of like a potion type thing. Alrighty, let's keep going. Now these, I like the Jolly Pumpkins. They're drunk pumpkins that have had too much to drink. Now these would be cool for, like, say you've got that comedian neighbor that likes to decorate for holidays, but he doesn't like comedy twist. Or I would put these out in front of some of the bar scenes that they've recently released out of the numerous years that they have. You know, definitely some pumpkins throwing up is kind of like a comedic effect. That's really well done. That I'm gonna have to pick up. And of course, a big one, they have Jumping Jack's Ferris wheel. Now I believe actually this came out, I want to say this came out last year. Some of these may have came out last year, but they were not completely available to like the entire public, or I think it was like Michael's exclusives. I know it's something along that line, so where like these are readily available for everyone. These were more, I think it was just Michael's. So obviously we scroll in here. Now that's cool. If you have a amusement park, it's not complete unless you have the Ferris wheel. I absolutely love that pumpkin with like the angry face in the front. Each little character here, you've got the astronaut, you've got a witch, you've got the guy at the ticket. Okay, you got to be this high to ride the jumping jacks. Okay, that I love. I don't really have a carnival per se, but this would be really cool to own. I might have to get this for my pumpkin patch. You know, what's wrong with a little more pumpkins, you know? I like the the decorations, the lighting. This is very well done. I just might have to get this one. Alrighty. Now next we have the lighted coffin. Now this came out, I think this also came out last year, but this was like the vampire one, where what it does is like the vampire rises from the tomb. So obviously this is right up my alley. I might have this right upside like the Dracula's castle, or like I'll put like a hole in the side of the mountain and put this in the hole. Obviously, you see there Dracula's rising from the grave, you know, and you've got Van Helsing there and Dracula's bride. That's really well done. That's cool. He's got obviously like the holy water. All right, let's see what else we got. So here is your Misty Crypt Graveyard. Now this looks like an expansion on the graveyard I bought last year, which is, I mean, it's smart. Their graveyard here, what it's got is it's got Misty Crypt Cemetery. So it's got an official building, and then it's got lighted tombstones, cemetery figures with the lighting there. Now that is cool. Like the purple lighting, especially at night, it's going to make your cemetery just pop and look just plain creepy. I mean, you've got the cemetery gate half open. Oh, man, I might have to splurge and buy this cemetery too. This cemetery too. You know, that's that's really cool. You can't go wrong with a massive cemetery. All right, here's your Game Over Monster Arcade from last year. This is really well done. I love the arcade machines. You know, you've got your zombie guy playing the arcade. Here's your guy passed out. So that guy passed out in front of the arcade machine that I talked about earlier, that accessory, that's what is be perfect for right here. Just stick him to the side. Yep, obviously. So, like, here's the arcade set. You've got your zombies here, other zombies. And then, look, see, there he is. He's just passed out next to the machine. You know, he's tired of playing. You know, for all you, like, gamers out there or just, like, wanting to build a Spookytown town, definitely pick this up. All right, so we're going to go to page 2 here. Now, they've actually got a lot. They've got 3 pages, so this might be a little bit of a longer video, but that's okay. Now, here we've got the monsters on Main Street. Now, this is another one of those facade, buildings where it's a flat back, but it's got Dracula's Cabinet of Oddities. It's got the Ghoulie News. It's got a street sign here where it says Main Street and the monsters. Dr. Frank's Laboratory Supplies. So it's another building set. I love these. You can't go wrong with them. As I said before, a lot of people collect these. Let's pull up the video on this. You know, I love the lighting, especially in that Cabinet of Oddities, how it pulsates like the red. See the lights there going in the windows. The Farms, it says the Farms Motel. Or the Arms Motel. See how they've got like little arms going out? Sorry. Obviously, you see Dr. Frank's Laboratory Supplies. See the little skeleton in the casket. These are really cool. This was out, I believe, last year as well. Now, this I actually really like. This reminds me a lot of Salem, once again, where they have Sabrina the witch, and they have her statue out in Salem. People, like, take photos and stuff. So, like, if you have, like, a little neighborhood or a town, like not like a spooky town, like, for, like, monsters, but for people, this could go good in that area, or, like, just some sort of a gateway, or, that work perfect. Or say you put it out in the middle of the woods, like a sculpture, like a graveyard or something like that. That's what I would do. Now we've got Mortician Max Death Day. Hold on, what is this? Mortician Max Death Day Services. Now, first off, the first thing that catches my eye is the front. Mortician Max. That is so cool. It's very well done. I love his hair and the costume, the get-up. He's got the, that looks like that's Mortician Max right there. You've got Remains Hatchet Jack. You Are Next. Looks like, this is a mortician area. If you've got your funeral parlor from years past, you can stick this guy right next to him. He's preparing the cemetery and everything, or, getting the bodies ready. Let's pull up the video for this guy. So, let's see if he... Oops, sorry about that. Sorry, I'm getting used to this screen record. It's a little all over the place, but... So I like the lights pulsating. You've got your flame lights. This one's going to look really well at night. It doesn't have like an official soundtrack, but I love how the lights look, especially against Mortician Max on the sign there. Death Day Services. Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's not for me, but I love it still just the same. Now, these I absolutely love. These are pathway lights. Now, this reminds me immediately of when I used to go trick-or-treating in my childhood, and you'd see, like, pathway markers and lights like that. These are a must-buy for me. They're going to go perfect for my neighborhood scene, for the trick-or-treaters, stuff like that. That's a must. Now, here you've got Petrified Forest Treehouse. Now, this I like. They've done some tree houses in the past where it was just like one tree, and it was, a haunted tree house or a kid falling into a tree. This is like a whole legit tree house. Like, let's scroll down, see if they got a small video, but I like how they've got the giant cobra out in front. Let's see the lighting on this. probably some pulsating. I love the guy in the tree with the eyes. It says keep out. Looks like a banshee at the top there. Trees growing all over the place. Skeleton walking into the treehouse. Okay, this is pretty well done. This is like if you had a forest scene or like next to like a graveyard, like a bunch of like trees. Like I have a bunch of pine trees that I'm painting. Like I might put this in there as like an abandoned treehouse. That's cool. Yep, and then they did like exactly like petrified forest treehouse. Like here's your haunted tree here. Here's a guy playing a banjo. Okay, so it's kind of like you're going like backwoods type scene, like the haunted trees. Kind of like some hoodoo voodoo medicine man type stuff. Keep out the scarecrow. Okay, that whole scene alone. You've got the full moon. That's how you do it right there. That's a set. Like if you want a creepy like wood scene, that's something I would pick up. That's cool. Now here we've got a previous patient. Obviously, I guess he's died before, and then they went to bury him again, or he's rising from the grave, and that's a cool cemetery piece. This I absolutely love. This is a pumpkin archway. I actually want to buy one of these from Home Depot. Home Depot had a really well done pumpkin archway. I know when I have my future house, this is a must-have for me. I just love the archway. You can easily put this in a neighborhood scene right in front of a trick-or-treat house, welcoming trick-or-treaters right in front of the house. Very well done. This is a must-have. And then you've got Harvest Hollow Pumpkin Farm. Now, I love this piece as well because it kind of looks like old school type, autumn. It's getting late into October. There's going to be late into September, early October. This immediately reminds me of my local pumpkin patch that I go to all the time. So this is also a must-have. I'm going to add it right to that pumpkin patch. It's going to fit right in. So I've got some pieces already racked up that I would love to add. Now this is this is pretty unique. Now, I would say when I first started collecting Lemax Spookytown, they did a pumpkin house, and it was just like a solid pumpkin. This has a skull carved into it. Now let's see the lit up photos. Now it's gonna be pretty bright actually through the pumpkin, but I love how it's kind of a skull right here. And how it's kind of almost like they did shading, especially like around, the eyes and the mouth. This is pretty cool. You could have it in like a wood scene or like in the backwoods, or just even buy a pumpkin patch. Like, how they have, say like at Cedar Point, where they have a ton of pumpkins everywhere, and then they have like that pumpkin house that's decorated. Maybe you could put it in there, just like in a ton of pumpkins that someone just built. Now you got the scary rocking chair. These are unique. I don't mind them. They're okay. I like the Cobra. They're not for me, but I know some people, like if you have a little town, you can put rocking chairs around, or amusement park for people to sit in. Here we've got the seance vendor. So this is for spirits with Madame Estella. You've got another girl back there with, her doll and the mom. You could put that girl from earlier that was sitting with her cat. You could put them next to this family, and it looks like, they're just in line waiting for the seance. This would work really well if you did something like a New Orleans type theme area, or like a voodoo area. I love it, especially the costume design. Now, speaking of how they've had a bunch of bars and stuff, here is the Silver Slug Saloon. Now, this is pretty awesome. Okay, you've got the werewolf popping out of there, and to me, it reminds me a little bit of Smokey the Bear with the hat. But he's a gentleman werewolf. You've got your beer cases up top here. Excuse me, your alcohol. You've got some werewolves right here. They're obviously having a drink. There's the saloon reward for 10,000, dead or alive. It's a very creepy looking werewolf. Ooh, this one I might have to get. This is pretty cool. Like, just to even have, like, if you have a bar, like, in your house, like, just to have displayed up on the shelf or something, for Halloween or at your local bar, like, this would be cool. It gives customers something to talk about. I like that piece a lot. And he's like coming out of the roof too. Yeah, that's very well done. Now this is one of my favorite pieces because it's limited, like it's minimal, but it's so like it's perfect. Like, so when I make my Vampire Mountain, on the side of the Vampire Mountain is going to be a bunch of like water and the ocean. And there's going to be, the vampire, it's like the Demeter. It's the vampire ship that came out years ago. So I could literally put this dungeon in the side of the mountain. And the eerie glow this gives off, like it's like a fire is burning inside there. That is absolutely perfect. Like, let's look at some of these other photos. Yeah, it looks 3D, so you could easily just put this right into a side of a mountain, and it looks like it would just be carved there. Or you can make it like part of a jail area. This is, yeah, I'm gonna pick this up. That's guaranteed. One way or another, it's wow. Now you got some of your little ones here. These are not full size, but they're still very, very well done. This is a skull little tree house. Now this reminds me of almost like a bird house, like a little bird feeder, stuff like that. You could put, that in like a backyard. That's what I personally would do because it's smaller. It's not as big as like a regular tree house from what I'm looking at. The dimensions, it definitely, yeah, it's not like a full-size tree house, but still, I love the paintwork on it. That's what I would do. I'd use it as like a birdhouse. Now here you've got Spellomatic. Now these remind me a lot of, we've got an old mall here in my town where you've got some of the penny arcade machines like Test Your Strength or Love Elixirs, Lucky Charms, 100% fresh. This reminds me of that. It also reminds me a little bit of a gambling machine. It looks like it's just for like a one-stop all. Like if you have a gas station, you could also put it out in front of a gas station is like a little like type of business. Not like a little business, but like a little store, little shop that, the gas station runs. That would be cool. I'd put this on the side of the gas station. They came out with a gas station, I'd say 3 years ago. That's where I would put that. Now here you have the Spiderweb Manor. Now, this is cool. It's, the old lady in the shoe. And obviously you've got some spider webs all over and her shoe here. Let's pull up the video for this. Okay, you've got like the candy cane, like the little chimney pipe. I love the spider webs on the windows and the little pumpkin lamp. Like, if you have a witch cemetery, not cemetery, if you have a witch town or just witch area, this is perfect. Stick it right in there. Or like Department 56 has like a lot of witch hut or witch hat like buildings. Stick this there. That is, I don't have a big witch theme, but I appreciate, what they're doing with that. I love the color of the lighting and the spider webs though. Now here, we have another, Spooky Spirits Cafe. It's a little bar area, and, obviously they're getting their drink on, and it's witching hour 5 to midnight. And you've got the cats on the top of the stool there, and you've got 2 witches. Looks like they're having, Drax Bloody Mary or Witch's Brew. This is cool. If you have you could even almost have like a little like Renaissance fair area and have just these little shops with this one and the other brewery and, just small little shops like that. That could be cool. Like it's almost like a little festival, definitely do that. Now these I love. These are spooky yard signs. Now these remind me of something that Home Depot would carry or Spirit Halloween. They're like kind of like metal or plastic signs that you see up in people's front yards, especially during the Halloween season. I would absolutely love these. These I'm definitely buying because, I'm putting them anywhere in the neighborhood scene and they're gonna fit right in like they've been there all the time. Now here is Stone Pathway. You can never go wrong with different types of pathway. I try to make some of my own using like foam and stuff. I'm working on that. But like, if you ever just wanted to do different type of stone pathway, I know they did like some very cool like castle stuff, or the Castle Dreadmore that they came out with. This would be cool leading up to that, or just like even like a dirt road, stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now you've got terrifying trash cans. Obviously, going back to the carnival theme, they've got a bunch of clown pieces, and or you could do like the, I think it was the Harry's Toy Factory from a few years ago. You could put this out in front of that, or the Ferris wheel. That's where I would put this in front of. I love the container shapes and everything. This reminds me of, I used to go to the zoo, and the zoo would have these trash cans that would be shaped like hippos and stuff like that, different animals, and they'd make it into a trash can. These guys are cool. And I'm sorry, I know I repeat myself a lot, like saying cool and very well done, but bear with me. Now here's the Count's candy. Obviously, if you have a neighborhood piece or even, vampire area, she's passing out candy. Just got a giant candy corn there. Now here is the Count's Candy Corn Factory. Now, don't quote me on this. I don't know if I'm just seeing it for now or if this just came out. I swear I've seen this before. Maybe it was when I looked at the website, but let's pull this up. Now, I love the bats flying around, and they've got the candy corn pieces, and you've got the Count there. You've got the candy corn spinning, and they're making candy corn. I love that bat. Look at that paint job on that bat on the top there. Yeah, and you've got the candy corn kind of going on like a conveyor belt. They're turning, they're making the candy corn. See, look, they're packaging it. Here you've got kind of like the workers at the bottom. They've got those rotating pieces that, so many people love. This would work really well in another business section, another area like that. Now here is the Cursed Cabin. Now they came out when I first started collecting, they had like a cabin area where it was like zombie cabin, which I use as almost like an Evil Dead theme. Now this I like because you could also do this in like a backwoods type area with, just an abandoned cabin. Sorry, trying to play the video. And let's open this here. So looks like you've got some vultures flying overhead. You've got a guy kind of hanging on for dear life there on the bottom right. Looks like a guy, he's in like a jail cell there. Not sure what that is on the left. Oh yeah, it's a little like jail prison. This is definitely, I like that they're getting towards more of the scarier type stuff. How Lemax used to be. I love the guy chasing, the characters around. Yeah, this to me does not look like a carnival ride. It looks like a cursed cabin. Like this is something that you'd see in a backwoods. Like, hey, keep out. This is definitely, I have a backwoods area. It's something you could add. All right, now this guy, Time Traveler. I love the pocket watch, and he's got the hat and the clock right on the top of his hat. This can also go in like a New Orleans area, like a downtown, like they're all dressed up, or just anywhere downtown in Lemax Spookytown. I personally think it's got like a New Orleans theme. But, very well done. Oh, and without further ado, put them in front of this. It's the Time Warp Clockworks. So obviously, let's do the Time Warp again, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let's view the video on this. This is really cool. I'm a big watch guy. I don't have like an Apple Watch, but I love like actual watches. So let's pull this up. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. It's got the clock there. It's like the spinning hand on the right. It's got the old school clock going back and forth, like the cuckoo clock or the grandfather clock. I love the little Reaper there, where he's holding the clock face. You just see all these clocks and gears, and that's what makes I want to have a pretty cool clock collection one day, where you have just these really old antique clocks that just take you back to a better time. And look at this. Looks like the clocks keep on ticking. It looks like it's a shop for a clock. See, look, here's your grandfather clocks, your old school ones sit on the shelf and stuff. buy some time. Yep, here's part. See that hanging thing on the right? Part of like a grandfather clock. Okay, I'm going to have to get that. I don't have a downtown area for Spooky Town, but I'm going to get this. This is just, it's so cool. Yeah, you've got tooth plants. Now these I like. These are very unique. These would go perfect with the dentist office that we saw earlier. Stick this right in front of that dentist office. That's probably the best place for them. I'm trying to think back at other Lemax Spookytown buildings in years past, but this is definitely, if you buy the Drax like dentistry place, you're gonna want to buy the accessory. That's perfect. And then, of course, here's the toothache trouble. Obviously, you've got this very detailed-looking werewolf. I love the paint job on him, and it looks like fur. And obviously, he's just got some teeth extracted. He's in some real pain. He's got a bandage. This is nice. You've got some toothy pumpkins. Now, this here, we're getting into like the accessories that they had with, obviously, like the Drax dentistry, and here's the pumpkins with like the teeth and stuff. Now here, trick or treat night. This I'll add to my trick or treat area. You've got trick or treaters, can never have too many of those. You've got a guy dressed up as like a skeleton, passing out candy. Here's the mom passing the kid candy with her dog. Now here's Undead Manor. Now this, you can never go wrong with trick-or-treat houses because they come in so many varieties. Now let's see the video on this. I think it's, from what I'm understanding, it's just lit. But you can never go wrong with a creepy type mansion. Yep, so it looks like it's just lit. Doesn't have any like pulsating lights. But it's just a solid blue or solid purple. You've got the manor owner right there. Just a creepy abandoned house, maybe in like a neighborhood scene where like the kids tell creepy stories about, this old man that's lived in this house for 50 years and nobody goes there. Like stuff like that. That's really well done. And of course, they've got return of their billboards. I've got one of these from a few years ago. It's a purple one. These I like. These are always really cool to have in front of like your spooky town. All right, let's see. Page 3. All right, so you've got this werewolf Halloween. Okay, he's a must-have. Like, I'm going to do a werewolf section in my deep woods. And, yeah, this guy is... look at the paint job on him. That is a legit werewolf right there. That is... Wow, that's fantastic. Now, these are Western bench. Now, Lemax Spookytown, years ago, they did, like, a Western theme. And they had some, Western pieces. You should add this definitely to your Western theme. It's perfect. Or if you have a carnival and they do a Western theme, I know, like immediately it brought me back to Cedar Point where they do a Western theme and they have like Tombstone Territory and they have the benches. That's a must-have. Obviously, you've got their little huts that they have. Here's the witch's skull hut. It's a very kind of unique design. I'm not the biggest fan of the hat. I wish it was more... I don't know. It looks like tile. I mean, I get why they did it, but it's okay. Now here you've got some Wolfpack cheers. They're sharing some brews. Obviously, put this in front of, that brewery that they had with the werewolves. This would be perfect. Or anywhere if you have a brewery in general or a pub. These guys need to go in front of it. You've got Would You Like Some Candy? So this is perfect because not only did you have Dracula's bride, now you have Dracula offering candy. So this guy I'm definitely going to get along with Dracula's bride, and I'm going to stick him in my vampire area. Hey, they got to give out they got to get out candy too to trick-or-treaters. Now you've got a wretched wreck monster. Now, Lemax actually doesn't have too many, they have some vehicles, but they're not a ton. This is unique. I don't know if they want to do like a garbage area, like a garbage a dump, or like maybe a monster truck rally. This is unique. And then here you've got Zelda's Black Hut Pizzeria. Obviously, these guys, you know, they're in for a bite of pizza. Let's take a closer look at this one here. They got Zelda's Black Hat Pizzeria. And what it says on here, blacked. Not sure what that says. Fried worms, toad legs, eye of newt. I think it's black sheeps. Witch's brew, free with pizza. Okay, this is pretty cool. Like if you have a restaurant, I'd stick that on the shelf for just decorations for Halloween. All right, let's see what's remaining here. Now you've got the Zoomy Brooms Flying School. Now they had like a flying school in years past. It was like a witch theme or like learn to fly and like broom rental. This reminds me a lot of the same type thing. You know, they're going to be going around on this, you know, broom, you know, kind of like pedestal. They're learning how to fly brooms, kind of like how we have, you know, driver's training. You know, this is instantly, okay. Now, the purple light on top that's glowing, that's a very nice touch. And it's got the traffic cones, and it's got the instructor there. She's teaching them how to fly. You know, once again, not a big witch guy myself, but still, this is nice. This is very nice. And that's going to wrap it up, guys, for the Lemax Spookytown for our new releases this time at this time. I know Lemax, they'll do some Michael's exclusives that will come out a little bit later in the year. I'll be sure to do a video covering those as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. You know, I'm going to try to just keep the content going as much as possible as, you know, we're getting closer to the Halloween season. It's already January. Heck, it's already going to be almost February before we know it. And we'll be talking about more releases. So definitely thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, feel free to like it. Feel free to follow. I'll be coming out with more videos. Subscribe. You know, there is a notification bell where you click that. And then you know, you'll get notified when I release new videos. You know, I appreciate every one of you guys for following. I just try to grow this channel and definitely spread the Halloween spirit around. And I hope you have a great start to your new year, guys.